I think most people can do it on the cheap if they need to when they're getting started, though. I don't want to scare people because...
I do want to scare people a little bit because a lot of people come in unprepared and don't have the financial ability and they're lazy. So you want to be a realtor. Well, good news. Adrian and I are chatting about everything that you need to know if you're thinking about getting your real estate license.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Oh, hello, friend.
Good morning.
Happy Family Day.
Sorry. You're always forward thinking. Yes, happy Family Day.
Episode 327. The Real Estate Podcast. Today, we're going to chat a little bit about expectations, what it takes, and what to expect overall if you're thinking about becoming a realtor.
When this conversation comes from, we're getting a very constant flow now of people inquiring about joining the team. Some of them are existing agents. Some of them are not, and some of those people have no direct sales experience, and they're paid a salary versus commission. So
you're already getting right into the guts of it.
They're really not sure what to expect.
Well, the topic actually started, the idea of this topic started because one of our clients who happened to stop by a couple weeks ago actually messaged me a couple days after the visit and said, hey, do you mind getting together? Would love to pick your brain about what it's like to be a realtor, what it might take to get to that point, to be successful, what's the day in the life like. And I thought, you know what, based on the amount of inquiries that we're getting, that would be a good topic to talk about on the cast. So that's what we're going to do today. What's new and exciting, though, before
Is that
we
what
get
we call them
into
now,
it?
casts? On the cast.
Yeah. Anything happening in your life right now?
Just busy. I mean, work has consumed most of it. A lot of active listings, lots of showings, lots of inquiries, lots of phone calls. So dealing with a lot of that. One thing I'm looking forward to, unrelated to work, is we've just booked a couple nights at Blue Mountain.
Ooh, fancy.
So we're going with my brother and his girlfriend and his kids, and just for a couple nights of snowboard, a couple days of snowboarding.
When are you going?
The 6th of March.
Nice.
Thursday, I think.
So while there, you're pretty safe because they maintain their...
anywhere up until March break is usually pretty good. All the hills make their own snow, but February is usually a pretty good month for snow, naturally, as we've experienced recently. And temperatures don't usually dip. Although last year I was there and there was a lot of mud on the hill around the same time, but it was still fun. So, yeah, that'll be good.
You said you're going with your brother?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Where are you staying?
I don't remember the name of it. So he's arranged it because his girlfriend, her mother or stepmother, works at one of the local resorts. So we're getting a 1-bedroom room for $100 a night.
Nice.
Yeah. So can't go wrong. Anyway, so yeah, there'll be the 8 of us for a couple nights. Be fun.
Very nice.
Yeah. What's new with you?
Not a whole lot. Like you said, we've been so busy with work that's consumed all of my time in the last month, 6 weeks. And, I always push during the busy times because we do go through ups and downs. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in this podcast. But you go through the waves of being really busy, and then, there are waves where things slow down. And I think you have to understand, and I've come to understand after 14 years of being in the business, is that you got to make hay while the sun is shining, right? You have to, you got to put the pedal to the metal when you have that opportunity. And right now the market is super hot. We have a lot of buyers out there that want to see properties, that are getting engaged, which they haven't in a long time, and sellers that want to make a move. They want to upgrade. They have different intentions now. So I'm hoping that this first quarter really sets up. It always does. It already has, but it always is the telltale of how your year is going to be, or most of the time. I shouldn't say always.
There's a lot of factors,
but if the first part of the year, if you can really do well in the first part of the year, you're setting yourself up for a good year. And I like to take my foot off the pedal when the weather is nicer. And maybe that's because we have a cottage, and I like to sneak away there on a couple of days here and there or whatever without working. And but you have to still hit targets. You still have to meet your goals. So yeah, it's all work for me right now, baby.
It's good.
Although I am going to the auto show. I've decided.
Oh, are you? My stepdad asked me yesterday if I wanted to go, but I don't really have an interest in it. We used to go all the time being in the car business, but...
See, I do this year because I haven't been in years.
Yeah, well, and you're sort of on the fence about getting a new vehicle.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, we need new vehicles in the family. So both vehicles are due for an upgrade or a change.
Well, there's no better place to shop for one.
Well, that's it. I think, you can find most of the information that you need online now, right? It's kind of like shopping for a home. You can put yourself virtually in most homes, hopefully, if their agent's doing their job. You got your floor plans, beautiful photos, all that stuff. You have the same for a car now. You can listen to the way it even sounds when it's running or accelerating. You can do everything except sit in it. Mm-hmm. And a car is one thing that I wouldn't buy online. Like I wouldn't buy a Tesla online without sitting in it.
Oh, I would.
No, little things drive me nuts. Like how my elbow sits on the windowsill, because I like to drive like that sometimes.
Yeah.
How you feel overall, your blind spots, the overall fit and size and finish and all those things.
Well, our last two vehicles, we didn't drive. I did drive the Tundra, but I didn't care to. It didn't make a difference. But
you sat in it?
No, I had already decided to buy it.
You did sit in it?
I did, but it was like just as a formality because I was there.
Right.
Like I didn't care to.
But you're also familiar with that product, right?
Yeah.
You sold Toyotas for years.
Yeah, maybe it's different because of that experience. And the van, we never drove. I don't think we test drove the van.
Yeah.
I don't know if we looked at the van.
But you've driven the Sienna many, many times.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit different.
Right.
So as an example now, and every 5 years a car is a new model. So anyway, let's get right into it. We'll start off by talking a little bit about the licensing and education component, because that's really the first place you start when you decide, okay, I'm going to do this. A lot of people say, I'm going to try this.
Yeah, you can try, but if you're already committing, I don't even know what the cost is nowadays.
It's about $5,000 in the province of Ontario.
Yeah.
So, and that's not including any other expenses. By the time you have the license in hand, it's costing you about $5,000.
Well, you're probably about 10
probably
once you're
about
licensed.
A year,
set up with boards.
A year of your time and $5,000.
Right.
A lot of people that go through it. So here it's under Humber College. So it's an actual college program. You do it virtually now. So it's all online learning. You take the exams virtually. But there's 5 courses, essentially. That's how it breaks down. So it's a process. You have to commit to that process. A lot of people don't make it to the end.
Yeah.
They start.
I know many people
They
that
have good
done
intentions. They get through the first course and then start slowing down in the second. A lot of them don't make it to the third. If you've made it to the third, then at least you can say, okay, I only got 2 more after this, right? But, and every province or state is going to be different potentially. So you'll want to look into whoever governs real estate in your region and do a little bit of research. But if you have a full-time job, if you're working 40 hours a week,
it's a lot of work. Well, and if you're
when
married
the hell
or
are you
have
going to
kids,
study?
or
Right.
that becomes more challenging.
You got kids, you got a life.
I think one thing that could help is before or even during that process, you're out meeting agents or brokers and trying to figure out where you want to end up, attending training classes just to maintain your motivation for what, the reason you're doing it, and surrounding yourself with those people, because you can be very easily discouraged as you go.
Oh, for sure.
So I think that's helpful. Like, we have somebody joining us later this year. He was messaging me over this weekend, letting me know where he's at, and I, commending him on his progress. He's doing a good job and keeping him motivated. So
he's also really lucky though too, because a lot of top performing teams aren't hiring new people to the industry completely.
yeah,
A lot of them want somebody that has gone. If you've made it past the year and your paperwork is good, you've figured shit out, you know how to be somewhat self-sufficient, then they start looking at you. But a lot of them also want a track record, some experience. Show us that you can do this. Let's see how much you were earning last year, things like that.
yeah.
So a lot of people that are new to the industry are going solo, right? Because they have no choice yet. They have to prove themselves. And it's hard to prove yourself when you're new. So going to the education component is not just getting your license, not just going to the college and getting registered.
Yeah, well, you can attend seminars.
It's the continuing education and the experience that you need to obtain in your new career, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is money. Knowledge is confidence. You have to have the knowledge.
A lot of that comes from experience.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can get that experience, like you said, by hanging out with other realtors, making friends, going to seminars, doing training at brokerages.
Joining Facebook groups and just
I was just
reading
going to
the
say,
feeds.
joining Facebook groups, watching. There's a lot of content on YouTube. A lot of realtors, just like us, putting out content that you could be learning from. Like, think about our podcast. 327 episodes of content that if you are a brand new realtor and you watched all those episodes, you would learn a lot, right? Just by doing that. So it's almost this commitment that you have to have while you're going through this initial stage, that you have to live and breathe everything real estate if you want to come out of the gate not already behind.
Well, I think an important part, and this continues after you're licensed, and is just making sure people know what you're working on, right? Because the most successful agents are those who everyone knows are in the business.
Right.
Like, the more people that know what you're doing, the more eyes you have on you, the more ears you have on listening to you, the more likely you are to succeed. It's just a numbers game. You need to get in front of more people.
Yep.
So if you're letting people know what you're working on, then when you make the transition, it comes as no surprise. And if you're joining a team of some sort, then, you've already got the backing of that brand, and it should be an easier transition from your full-time job, which is always the scary part. I'm going from a guaranteed, air quote, because who knows if it's guaranteed, you get fired tomorrow, but you're going from a guaranteed fixed income to a variable income with no guarantee of when you're going to get paid or if you're going to get paid.
So that takes me to my next point, which is the financial component.
Yeah.
So we already talked $5,000 roughly to get your license. Well, now you have other costs. You have costs of doing business, costs of supporting your clients, whether that's listing properties and paying for the photography, paying for staging, paying for marketing, paying for advertising, all of those things up front. You have ongoing variable and fixed costs to run a business. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking cell phone and car. You got that stuff already, although it is an expense. But maybe your fuel consumption goes up. Maybe your insurance goes up because now you're carting around clients potentially. Maybe you have to buy a new piece of equipment, right? A phone, a laptop, an iPad, something to make sure that you are
I think most people can do it on the cheap if they need to when they're getting started, though. Just, door knocking and Facebook groups and
hustling.
It's, you can, to get started, you can do it. Like, I don't want to scare people because...
Well, no, I do want to scare people a little bit because a lot of people come in unprepared and don't have the financial ability, and they're lazy. So that combination just doesn't work.
Well, the lazy part, you're not going to change. They either have it or don't have it, or want it or don't want it. They have a reason to succeed or they don't.
Sure.
So,
but even any realtor right now, you need to have a website. So
yeah, I'd say you don't. Somebody just getting in the business hustling, you could probably get away without one for a while.
I don't know. I think there is some component to maybe you're right with your sphere of influence, right? Like people that you know, people that already trust you. But if you're meeting new people, they're going to want to find what kind of product you're putting out, who you are. People are doing a lot of research online, seeing if you have any Google reviews, seeing how you're marketing yourself, because that's also a representation of how you might be marketing their property if they're selling. What kind of services do you offer?
I would say maybe social media would be more valuable from that perspective. I mean, websites definitely help.
I don't disagree. I mean, essentially, your Instagram could be your website, right? Yeah. Because you could have one of those all link kind of links, whether it's Linktree or some of the other ones that are out there. We use Linktree.
Or you have stories for or highlights, the appropriate content you want to be putting out.
Between the highlights and your reels, your stories, I mean, it's actually more intuitive and provides better analytics than most of the typical franchise websites.
Yeah.
So, but the key is there. If you don't know how to do it, you might have to hire somebody to help you. And although, again, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there on how to do it, and a lot of apps like Canva that make it pretty dummy proof. Mm-hmm. But the challenge is a lot of people don't actually sit down and take the time. So that goes into kind of segues into my next speech, which is about scheduling, your schedule. So I'll ask you now, what should a new realtor's schedule look like? Should they have a schedule?
Well, I think everyone should. They should have routines and schedules, and they should fill it so they're holding themselves accountable and having a way to track what they're doing and what's working and what's not working. So, I mean, the answer is obviously yes. No matter what you're doing in life, you should have a schedule. Otherwise, you're just going to end up sitting on your butt trying to figure out what you should do next, and then nothing happens.
So let's talk to the people with young children, because we both have young children. Do you have any recommendations? There's a lot of moms that inquire on a regular basis about joining us. In fact, my client is a mom with 2 young kids thinking of a career change. Any recommendations in terms of scheduling there? Maybe we should have...
We're not the right people to ask because our wives take care of the children for us, so...
Yeah, but we have realtors and have been in the business long enough.
Well, I think with anything, it's you're gonna get the single moms and single dads who hustle, and they just figure ways out to make it work. They're bringing kids to showings. They're they have a support group, a network of people that they can rely on, friends and family, neighbors, whatever, to help cover some of the responsibilities that come with being a single parent. Or if you're not a single parent and you're married, a supportive spouse is key to anyone's success.
Don't have to be married. You just have to have a partner.
Whatever. I'm blanketing the various relationships. But yeah, having a very supportive partner is crucial.
So for me, it doesn't matter what you got going on in your life, whether it's kids, you got to take care of an elder family member, you have medical issues that require attention on a more regular basis, you're part of a sports team or a club that takes up a lot of your time. There's so many things that becomes
part of your business.
You could say everything becomes a part of your business as a realtor.
100%.
When you go to your local supermarket, I guarantee you're going to run into, it happens to me all the time, you run into somebody that knows you or is a past client or that watches the podcast or listens, whatever. So your whole life becomes work.
This weekend we got the snow. I have 2 vacant properties. The homeowners live out of the country, both in Oakville. So I put my snowblower in my truck and I went and did the driveways. I could have easily hired someone to do it, but it doesn't take me long. It's not that far. And while I was doing it, I networked with the neighbors who were obviously out doing the same thing. And some of them had a shovel instead of a snowblower. So I did some of their driveway. I had one guy come over and give me $20. I'm like, no, I don't need your money. Thank you very much. I'm the real estate agent. I'm just doing my client a favor. Here's my card, whatever. And
you gave him a card?
Yeah, I know I had one.
You had a card?
I have them in my truck all the time. I just don't use them. But, maybe next time they're thinking of selling a year or two from now, they'll remember that agent next door that did our driveway? Who knows? Like, you never know where business is coming from. So you always have to be thinking in that with that mentality that every interaction could amount to something at some point.
Yeah, I thought like that in the beginning, and now it's just become second nature, and I think it's more natural to just think that way.
Certainly.
That I don't care if anything comes out of it. I'm doing it because I want to do it, and if something comes out of it one day, that's great. The key is you got to do those kind of things and do them often. So where I was going in terms of scheduling is it doesn't really matter anymore how your schedule is broken up, if it's going to be broken up. So if you have, let's say, your kids to pick up at 3:00 when they're home from school and you got to make dinner and things like that, you're going to start eating into your day. And that's fine. You can work around those things now because of the beauty of electronic means that we have. So no longer do you have to go to a client's house to get a signature and initial. It's a few taps on an app on your phone, which is easy to do while you're making dinner if you need to. But the key is you have to have a schedule that keeps you accountable for the hours that you're working in the week. Because there is a direct correlation to the amount of time you spend on your business. There's a direct correlation with the financial repercussions of that. So schedule is paramount and something to think about and something to start planning if you're thinking if this might be a career for you. Now, the benefits, I think, outweigh the cons because we were in careers where we could not, we were stuck to our office for 50 to 50 something hours every week. And we didn't have the flexibility that if we wanted to come in late one morning so we could go snowboarding, we didn't have that flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a realtor has that flexibility. If you set up your schedule properly, you can meet up with a friend for coffee. That's kind of part of what we do now. It's networking. It's relationship building. But if you want to take 10 minutes out of your day and have your sandwich at the park, you can do that. If you want to take a holiday, yeah, you need somebody to cover you while you're away. If you're on a team, you're lucky because you got teammates that cover you. But you can take your vacations.
Or you just sporadically take those vacations when opportunities arrive and you don't need the coverage. Because that time, that happens too.
Hopefully, you're never in a position where you don't need coverage.
Oh, I think it happens to the best of us. There's always moments. It's like, shit, you know what? I'm going away this weekend because I got nothing going on.
Yeah, but you got nothing going on. But how do you know nothing's coming in while you're gone?
Voicemail.
You still need somebody taking care of stuff.
Not necessarily. You leave voicemails with the appropriate messages, telling people when you get back to them. I think that's a big problem people make too, is worrying too much and letting people control their schedule.
Yes.
Right down to...
I agree, 1,000%. And we used to be those people.
For sure we were. You get random phone calls saying, hey, I saw this property. Can you show it to me? And you drop what you're doing and you go, but you've done zero qualifying of the person. You meet them, you show them the house, and then you never, ever hear from them again. And they were just using you.
Yeah.
I mean, they may have had good intentions, but you didn't follow a good process. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Or you're taking calls at 9:45 at night.
Right.
What is so important?
Well, I would argue with that because sorry, you're saying random phone calls. No, I wouldn't do that. But
yeah, some random guy, some random person calling. You don't know who it is at 9:45 at night. 12 years ago, you and I were probably taking that call.
For sure.
But that can also there's a double-edged sword.
I know. Part of me is like...
Because you get that call... Yeah, and part of you, the salesperson, the customer service person, you want to get that call because they are calling at night and it's probably the only time they have available. And if you pick up that call, they're like, wow, I wasn't expecting for you to pick up the call. But you have to have that downtime. You have to recharge. You have to set boundaries because now if you start taking that person's call at 9:45 at night, the next time you call at 9:45 or 10 o'clock, now they're expecting you to answer the phone because you haven't established what your business working hours are.
Well, unless the argument there would be unless you set the expectations correctly at that time too. If they say, oh, I wasn't expecting you to answer, you could be like, well, I don't normally, so don't expect it next time, but how can I help you? You know, like there's ways to handle that so that you do set proper expectations moving forward with somebody?
Well, the key is you have to set those expectations for yourself and for others.
Yeah.
So as an example, anytime I start in a new relationship with a client or even a past client that we are now re-engaged, I let them know very clearly I am off on Saturdays. It's the only day I take off. It's my only time off, really. And don't bug me. And you won't get a response because I shut every notification off on my phone, so I don't even know that you called. They know to call you instead. So you have to have boundaries within it. You are going to be working a lot. You're going to be working weekends. You're going to be working evenings. You're going to be working at dinner time.
So are we just talking about expectations or are we giving...
No, next I want to go into... I'll ask you this question because I know your answer might be a little bit different than mine.
Okay.
And you might be more, I don't want to say tolerant or lenient, but you probably have a different thought process. I know you do. Just a little bit. That's what helps us. Between the two of us, we always hire the best of the best. What skills do you believe somebody should have? What skills should somebody new to the industry have? So if they're thinking about, I'm thinking about getting my real estate license, what are some skills that person should have, or what what kind of traits should be attributed to them, their personality, their style, what skills? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know that traits I think skills can be taught. I think it's more like innate drive and motivation and work ethic. And, if you get somebody who's willing to put in the work, you can train them on how to be successful. So they need to be, I guess, from a trait perspective, it needs to be somebody who's adaptable, somebody who...
Would you say that because in this industry as a whole, training, I believe, is lacking from most brokerages, from most teams? It's very hard for somebody new to know that they are getting the right training. And even once they are trained, they're then often, their wings are clipped and they're left to fly on their own. So would you say being a good self-learner is important?
It depends on the circumstances. I mean, certainly the people that are independent and financially driven and motivated and, who have big networks to start, of course, they're going to be probably more successful off the start. But, I think, I don't know that there's any particular thing you can't teach people other than you either have the work ethic and motivation or you don't.
How important are having just general people skills?
It depends on what you define people skills as. Like, we spoke recently about somebody who we felt probably one of the issues they face in the industry is they talk themselves out of deals because they talk too much, right? But that's something you can learn. And if you're open-minded and you're a sponge, you can learn how to overcome that. So people have personality traits that will be detrimental to their success if they don't address them, but it doesn't mean they can't change or establish new skills.
And again, that goes back to who's even, like, most people are oblivious of those things unless it's pointed out to them.
Yeah.
So who is pointing it out to these people so that they can address it?
And most people won't.
And
unless you
that's a whole other side of it, right? Even if it's addressed to you, do you do anything about it?
Right.
Right? There should be like real estate psychologists, specifically for realtors. And that's going down a whole other conversation, because there are many nights that as a realtor, you may need one and or a beverage to go with it. I think there is, you see, my answer this year, or in 2025, is very different than when we started in the industry in 2011. And the difference is, I believe now the world is becoming more segmented in terms of, I don't know what the right word is even, clique. Like, you have the gamers, you've got the artists, you've got the blue collar, like there's nobody that stands out as being a nothing burger anymore. Like everybody has their support group. Everybody has, like, people are more opinionated on what they believe, what they like. And it's, it's applauded that if you are different in some way, shape, or form, that you've got a support group now. So somebody that was, you're thinking hard about this, thinking about where I'm going with it.
Or just my thoughts on it. Yeah, go ahead.
Just your thoughts on it. Right. So I don't know. If you are an outlier, you are a minority of some kind, you really aren't anymore. You're not the outlier anymore because there's a lot of outliers. You aren't the minority anymore because there are a lot of minorities, and they're supported, and hopefully, and there's a backing that you have support. You've got that momentum from other people looking for you to succeed. So even if you're, and personality is a huge thing in real estate, right? Some people don't like my outspoken personality or think I might be aggressive. I don't know, you get along with most people, but we have differences, right? Like everybody's different. So what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to be the suit and tie type of person anymore to be in real estate.
Well, I think that's changed across most industries, though.
Yeah, but realtors always had, it's like lawyers. And lawyers haven't changed that much. When you go and see a lawyer, a lot of them are still in a suit, dress shirt, tie. You know, they're shining their shoes in the morning. They're not coming to work in a hoodie. They're not coming to a client.
Well, probably not as many on average, but even in our industry, though, I'd say the majority of real estate agents are dressing nicer still. 100%. They are.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And the younger generation, too.
For sure, it's generational.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the people that are in their 60s and 70s are and even 50s are making the way for that new wave. And that new wave, that whole generation is very different. Where the, odd duck person that maybe wasn't cool in high school or has, plays Pokemon on the weekends can still be a good realtor. There's no set skill now that you actually need to be a good realtor. Anybody can be a good realtor.
Aside from work ethic and, yeah.
Aside from your fucking business plan and executing on your business plan. That's what it boils down to. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you actually mean having a business plan, but I don't think you even need that.
Well, that I totally disagree with you. Everybody should have a business plan. It should be written. If you don't have written goals and you don't know what the hell it is that you have to run it as a business.
100%.
So every business needs a business plan.
Not necessarily. Well, what's the definition of a business plan?
I don't know. Having a summary of your goals, having goals, having
goals can just be written on your mirror. Depends on what your level of success is. Right? Like there's a very broad range of where people.
So if you have a business and you need some money, you're gonna walk into the bank and bring them your frickin' mirror.
That's my point, though.
Is your business plan.
That's different.
How is it? You see?
Because
that's part of the problem.
It's not a problem. It depends on what that person wants to achieve.
Sure.
For somebody making 60 grand.
How do they know what they want to achieve?
For some people.
How do they know what they want to achieve?
For some people, that would be, I want to make $75,000 a year because that would be a little bit more than I'm making. Or put it on your mirror. My point is, it doesn't.
Put it on your fucking forehead. Put it somewhere.
It doesn't.
But then from that 75 grand, how many deals do you have to do to hit 75 grand?
Personally, I don't do that. That's not the way my brain works.
That's the way you need to approach it as a new realtor, because that's fine for you.
I disagree. Not always is what I'm saying. If you know...
You can disagree with me all you want. But if you don't have a written plan that tells you exactly what you need to do to hit your goals, you're never going to hold yourself accountable because you won't even know what they are. And it needs to be broken down into a monthly, weekly, even daily goal. So when you talk about scheduling, what do you put in your schedules? Well, what do you need to do today? Well, what I need to do is do this, this, and this. So by the end of the month, I have that. And that's
so then your schedule becomes your business plan.
Of course. You take your business plan and break it down into your schedule.
Or that is just your business plan. Yeah.
Well, a schedule is your business plan for the day.
Or the month.
Or the month. That's fine. Yeah, better than your mirror.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think I'm open to the fact that everyone works differently, and there's no one path to success, and there's no one personality trait or characteristic of a person that will either make or break your success in the industry. I think you just need to be open-minded.
Do you think that somebody can do it part-time?
Somebody can do it part-time. There's no questioning that. The question is, what do you expect to get out of it? I don't think it's the right decision. I think you do your clients a disservice. I don't think people should hire a part-time real estate agent. But there's no question that you can do it because people are doing it. But I don't agree with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure. Yes, to clarify, you can get a license and hold most other jobs. There are some exceptions.
Where you're legally not allowed to.
Legally not allowed to, like insurance brokers. We were talking about that last week. Certain financial institutions, things like that. You can't hold the same licenses, but you could theoretically, you could be a car salesman, a shoe salesman, and working 60, 50 hours a week. You could be a teacher and working, 40 hours, 50 hours a week, and hold your real estate license and do a couple of leases every month. But to your point, when your client calls you at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I've told you that story before. I was trying to work a deal, and the agent says to me, I'm going to be sending you an offer. Okay, no problem. Offer presentation is at 5 o'clock. Can you send me the offer? He goes, okay, I might be a little bit late though because I'm working until 5.
But even there, I mean, obviously I'll speak for myself. I'm a big advocate of jumping in with both feet to make it work. In my position when we did it, I was comfortable doing that because I had put, I don't know how much, 50,000 or 70, it's like a substantial amount of money from the sale of a previous house I put aside so that we had a cushion. But there are circumstances where you may have a single individual who has several financial obligations or responsibilities that are very important, and it's a risk that they can't take. So just like some people will say, you do your side hustle when you can. So you go to work 9 to 5. Great. Go to work 9 to 5, and then you're working 5 till midnight on your real estate business. And at some point, you're able to make the transition full time. There are circumstances where that's needed, and I respect that. And they just can't do the transition fully because they're not in a position where they can risk that. I think anyone that does transition full time immediately and has that luxury, they will succeed a lot quicker.
Well, I will challenge anybody that is keeping their full-time job and want to hold the real estate license and start that as a career, that there are 24 hours in a day. Let's just say you need to sleep 8 of those hours and you work in your full-time job 8 more of those hours. There are still 8 hours in the day where you could do a lot of damage in this industry if they are productive hours.
So it may be a second job, but that's not part-time.
Right.
But the question is, there's certain people that will commit to doing that.
You do that for a year, and you're setting yourself up to now do it full-time.
For sure.
And sometimes you got to eat shit in the beginning for it to be successful.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the work ethic comes in.
And we should end it on that, because if you want to get into real estate, you just got to be willing to eat shit.
Or tuna, cat food.
See you next week.
Ciao.
Thanks for watching episode 327 of the Real Estate Podcast. If you're a realtor and you have any advice or any comments about this podcast, let us know. And if you're thinking about getting into real estate, you want some advice, you want to chat with us, send us a message. We're happy to chat anytime. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Real Estate Podcast.